Okay.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Snyder Cut Round Tables, Episode 4. I'm Dawson Weidrich from Nerdy in Many Ways, hosting today, and we got an exciting panel today, guys. I'm really stoked for today's discussion. I'm excited for this opportunity to talk with all you guys. So first off, starting over here with Wheezy Steve, let's have you introduce yourself, and we'll kind of like go around and then finish off with Syllab. Is that how do we pronounce your?
Syllab. Yeah, you got it.
All right, awesome.
Word. Well, my name's Steve. I'm from New Brunswick, Canada. Pretty far removed, probably, from everyone else's like entertainment. But I love Batman. I've always been a massive.
I had
fan
no
of
idea.
Batman. I was born. I was born the year Tim Burton's Batman came out, and it was like a staple rewatch of my childhood. And
You're making me feel old, man.
Yeah. But yeah, that's me. I work at a bowling alley, in case you couldn't tell from my shirt. I work in the kitchen.
Ooh, nice.
I come up with a lot of my own recipes, in case you guys ever find yourself in New Brunswick, want to have a nice, decent lunch. Yeah, that's me.
Heck yeah, sign me up. I'll get out to Canada.
At Voices Drummer on Twitter. That's basically the only thing I can plug.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Okay, I saw your Twitter page before, and so now it's connecting. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm Wheezy Steve on Xbox, I guess, if you want to do some Rocket League or some shit. But like,
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rif, how about you?
Hi guys. Yeah, this is very. It's not to be crude. This is probably me breaking my kind of wider community virginity a little bit in terms of getting on with the live with the community and things like that. I've always the extent of my interactions probably been on Twitter. I mean, my objective with Twitter was always to follow, not be followed. I wasn't really trying to push anything. I was just trying to keep up to date with certain things. I pick and choose who I follow on and off, basically. And this has been the common denominator. This has been that constant for me. And look, it's Riffmeister on Instagram. It's Riffmeister on Twitter, and I'm just a big fan, man. You know what I mean? When you said that you were born on the Tim Burton's Batman, you just made me feel so old there, Wheezy Steve, man. But in relation to that, that was the first movie I ever went to see that I can actually remember of any significance. Was Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman. It all started for me in '89 when somebody, bless you, gave me a 1989 Batman yearbook, and that's when obviously technology wasn't around, so I was basically I introduced myself to Harvey Dent, Batman, the whole kind of museum of the villains that he's got. Do you know what I mean? And since then, movies were very standalone, weren't they? Like they were just like, were they good? And there was a bit of continuity with Batman Begins, and then it was right. The baton was passed to another director, and then he'd do his version, and then people lost their way. But it wasn't until Nolan, obviously. But look, I don't want to deviate. I'm 42 years old. I've got a 13-year-old son who's next to me. Say hi, Leonardo.
It's good to see you. It's a great name.
Excellent. Yeah. When they ask him what he was named after, I'm saying, look, you got the
Damian
artist.
Wayne.
Yeah. Guys, you got Da Vinci, you got DiCaprio, and when he was younger, he used to say I was named after one of the turtles. So I was like, you can't butcher the name like that, man.
That's awesome.
That's me, man. I'm just a big fan, and I'm happy to be, and really thankful for you guys having me, man.
Absolutely. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from London, England, UK.
London, nice. So we got Canada, we got London, and Syl, how about you?
We got the United States, Louisville, Kentucky.
Nice.
Oh, brilliant.
So we're the Midwest. Like I said, Syl Abdul. I go by Syl. That's my Twitter and IG handle there. But yeah, basically, like I love the Tim Burton plug because I remember that whole promotion rollout. So I'm 41, so I'm right there with you, Riff. But the first movie I remember of significance is off topic, but it was Rocky IV. That's the first movie I remember in the theater. But we'll stay on the Snyder Cut right now. But definitely, man. I just gravitate to people that were positive, that wasn't about any agendas. So we'll get more into like probably everything else as we go. But just here to represent.
Awesome. Brilliant. It's great to have you. You said Louisville, Kentucky, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm down in Bluffton, South Carolina.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good area. I love South Carolina, man. I
It's
had my days there.
It's a little humid for my taste. My wife's from here, and so we stay here during the summers. It's not my choice, of course, but I do like it. It's around her family.
Right.
But man, you guys make me feel like I'm such a youngin'. I was born in 1997, and the first movie I remember seeing in theaters was The Grinch with Jim Carrey.
Oh wow!
Oh my God, 97.
That's my graduation year. God,
Man,
Wow.
I have so much to learn from all of you. Well, that's awesome.
Easy, bro. I'm not that old. I'm not as old as you below us. No, I'm just kidding, boys.
We got a good
You guys
range
look great
of
for your
experience here. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that you guys were the age you guys were. You guys look great. You guys look great for your age. This is fantastic.
Do I get to pull rank on everybody tonight?
you got it.
Go ahead.
You got it, man. By a couple months, you got it.
Hey, so I would imagine, were you a big comic book fan back in the day? Do you remember yes? Do you remember the release of the Death of Superman?
Oh man.
Because I was too young for that to be like a big event, but I can kind of remember it happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
The comic book, the Death of Superman.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I used to read my cousin's comics because I didn't know where to get them, to be honest, and I don't think I could have pulled them as well. But like I said, my yearbook was the one that planted the seed for me. So after that, I was just hoping and praying that when are we going to see this on the big screen? So we live in a great time, to be fair, that we've got to actually see.
Yeah.
It's
On that note, I'm sorry. On that note,
no. Go ahead.
I mean, I started off with X-Men comic books. Like I remember back in the day with X-Men, but then when Death of Superman came out, I was in high school. And I was going to the comic books trying to get the original copy. And it was sold out 3 times. And I finally got the 4th print. And I was like, wow, it would be cool to see this on the movie.
And it finally happened eventually.
It happened. Years went by. And I was like, nothing was like the comic book, though. I
can't imagine, because I still haven't read the comic, but I know how much of it, an event it was for all the fans.
I was on the news, USA Today was oh, Superman dies today, and it was such a big event, and I was so wrapped up into it, and then the return of Superman, that was an exciting time, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No doubt.
And Rif, your experience with comic book characters kind of reminds me of mine because growing up, my family was like a more of a sports household because my dad was a football coach. And so we didn't get into comics right away, but my little brother and I one day got this Marvel character encyclopedia. And so we would study the characters through that. And through that, I got into comics. And then eventually I got into DC. And of course, you see the Batman shirt and the Batman stuff behind me.
Oh, hell yeah.
You kind of know where I stand. I mean, I'm on this podcast for a reason.
You're preaching to the converted here. Absolutely. Yearbooks are like a comic reader's hack. We've kind of cheated in a sense that it's kind of fast-tracked our knowledge base. Whereas a comic book reader who's kind of like an avid comic book reader, they know the editions. I couldn't even lace their boots. But in terms of characters and story arcs and histories, I fast-tracked my knowledge base. But I've took a different route. Do you know what I mean? Borrowed second-hand stuff, but the interest is there, the passion is there. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely. And after that, I've gotten more into comics. I got a couple of issues of Batman comics behind me. I got Court of Owls, Hush, Dark Knight Returns, all the good stuff, right?
Good
Court of Owls,
man. Court of Owls, man. I cannot
good.
wait for Court of Owls to be adapted.
For a long time comic book fan of Batman, Court of Owls, when that can get in my top 5, that's serious.
Absolutely.
Straight up.
It really is. And let's kind of get on to the point of discussion here. Now that we've kind of introduced everybody, again, I'm so excited for this group. I think it's going to be a really fun conversation. This, of course, the second episode of the Snyder Cut Round Table since the big event happened. And I say that because it's so epic. The events, the announcements, the moment that made the internet break and the world stand still, the announcement of the Snyder Cut. And so I kind of want
to... moment.
Oh, yeah. So I want to go around similar to what we just did and kind of talk about our personal experience of how we learned about it, if we watched the stream or not, and what our reaction was to it. So we'll also start again with Wheezy Steve over here.
I did not watch the live stream. I was aware that he was streaming Man of Steel, like ahead of time, and the Release the Snyder Cut movement had tweeted like, "Hey, he might have some news for us," and I was like, I was busy that day. I was like, I'll figure it out on Twitter when it was done.
Fair
but
enough.
I did not expect it to be the official announcement, especially like when it was all. I learned the news when I had watched it had been cut together in sort of like a preview for HBO Max.
Mhm.
And I saw that, and there was like that, it's all dramatically cut. So it's like, here's Henry Cavill. Here's the moment the fan asked for it, and like he said yes, and it's like it hit me, man. Like I got goosebumps. Like they did a good job marketing that. Like
Oh yeah.
Oh man, like I was very, very happy as soon as I found out the news the next day. But
Yeah.
it was the next day when I found out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's still awesome. I mean, no matter when you find out, it's still like some of the best news out there, especially for right now.
My wife hated me because I wouldn't shut up about it for like 4 or 5 hours.
I feel that. I feel that. My wife was like, I heard you screaming halfway across the house. Of course I know what happened.
She was stuck in the same room with me for those 4 or 5 hours. So it was a lot of me being like, oh my God, look what this person said. Oh my God, look what these people are saying now. And, oh my God, look at this promotional image that I just threw together on Photoshop because I'm crazy and like stop it. I don't care anymore.
Now, were you working the day? I'm sorry. Were you working the day of that the announcement happened?
Oh no, I've been on lockdown since March.
Yeah.
My job is looking to reopen hopefully soon. I'm hoping in June, but it's looking probably more like July maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not in on the details.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
Hopefully reopening pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely hoping for that.
Yeah.
All right, Rif, how was your experience of learning about the unveiling of the event?
Well, it started off with a few, like, you follow the kind of usual suspects, and you start to see people obviously racing to be first and trying to. I done it, and then you see people saying, "Look, this is going to happen. Sounds like it." So you're thinking, right? Do you know what? We've picked up a bit of speed before, but this, in terms of announcements, this one seems a little bit different. There's something, but there's no smoke without fire. So there's something happening. So I watched a lot of the preview to it, and there was some great. I think it was the Film Junkie I was watching.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of good hype leading up to like the announcement.
Yeah, that was the one.
Like credible hype. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was sitting at home and I was like, I was working on pretending to work on Microsoft Teams, and I had it on in the background on the TV, and I was like, okay, right, these guys have got me well excited now. It's not just me now, and so I thought, okay. The next day came, and I was like, bloody hell, it's here now. Let me do the watch along. So I'm sitting at home on my own. I put Man of Steel on. I said, can't be that hard. Let me put it on. I paused it at the right point that he said. Then I was an hour in, and I was like, right, this is really, really good. But I had to leave probably half an hour before the end. So I had it going in my car as well. So I didn't. I had to turn it off just as Deborah Snyder came on.
Oh,
but do you know what? I was quite happy about it, because what I had to do, I knew was going to occupy my time, because I wanted to just randomly go in on Twitter 1 hour later, refresh, and I didn't want to see, turned out to be a false alarm, guys. Blah. So I thought, I'm not going to read anything. Let me just go back and watch a pre-recording of this.
Yeah.
And so I experienced it the same surprised way, but on a delay. And I've just been I'll be honest with you, the reason I've got this guy on, right, is he's my best friend when it comes to this kind of stuff, right, Leonardo. And I messaged him, I sent him the links, because he doesn't live with me all throughout the week. So when he's with me, I sent him the text. I said, listen, dude, this is happening.
Soak it up. Right.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? He was as stoked and hyped as I am, and I just kept watching it, and I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the little HBO minute-and-a-half cut. That was fair play to them. They actually put something together at least, and they dramatized it. And to be honest with you, the support from AT&T, HBO Max, and everybody was so overwhelming. when you see CNBC retweet HBO Max and AT&T's tweets with over 4 million, close to 4 million subscribers, the audience that it's been exposed to now is phenomenal.
It is
absolutely. I mean, I said in my latest video talking about all this stuff, I said, can we just admit that AT&T is like the coolest company in the world now?
Yes.
Like, and this is coming from a guy who's used Verizon his whole life. Like, you know, AT&T, just take my money. Like, do what you want with it.
They got me.
Oh man. Well, that's awesome. So, how about you, Syl?
Well, yeah, I was there for the live watch party. The funny thing is that I didn't have my physical disc to the Man of Steel, so I bought it again through the Voodoo app. So I was like, oh man, because I was there in the room with my wife. I was like, oh, it's a live watch party today. Like I'm not doing nothing this morning. We're watching Man of Steel. So she sat there and watched it with me, you know. And she gets into it. She's more of a Marvel fan, but she gets into, you know, Batman.
That's love, man. That's love right there.
It's love.
That's love right there, Syl.
Man. Yeah, I knew that like years ago when the first Avengers came out. That's when we started dating. So then,
Listen, that's a keeper there, Syl. That's a keeper there, mate.
Oh man, I tell you, 6 years, man. Married for 6 years. So we're watching it, and we get to the end, and like I'm in like pins and needles, man. I'm like, okay, come on, start. Like you gotta give us something. And like Henry Cavill comes on, I'm like, okay, either at the very least we're getting a Superman announcement. I was like, the very least. You know, experiencing it live, you know. So when they asked me a question, I'm like, okay, you know, when are you gonna release the Snyder Cut, right? So I'm like, come on, Zach, like, you know. And he was like beating around the bush. I was like, oh no. I was like, are we getting like, because like for years, man, we've been strung along a little bit. I was like,
yeah,
we need something.
He's been teasing us for years.
Yeah, teasing. And so when Henry Cavill was like, I reckon you should show it. I was like, uh-oh. And they put the image up, and I lost my wife.
I can't imagine how sick that must have been to see that in the moment.
I was like, no, it's happening. It's happening. Like man, I mean, since the first, I
would have been out of my seat, just like, yes, here it is. Yeah.
Since the unofficial, I call it the unofficial Justice League or the Justice League, when that came out, I've been clamoring for this day. So, like, seriously, man, that was epic, man. That was
absolutely.
It was a milestone moment. It was a milestone moment.
You remember where it was at?
It's something that has never happened before.
Right.
Absolutely. It was the only time during the watch along that I wished that Zach's film was 5 minutes long.
Yeah, Man of Steel. Yeah, I never wanted Man of Steel to end so quickly before. It's funny because you mentioned how he kind of was beating around the bush a little bit at first. You know, because I had made videos building up to it, like because I was sure that there was going to be an announcement because like you know I talk with Film Junkie, I talk with Fatal J, I talk with all those guys, and you know we were all talking, and it's like, dude, I think this is happening.
And Grace Randolph.
Grace Randolph was saying something. Yeah. And I was saying like, okay, this is happening. And so I made videos about it. I put my reputation on it. And then when he said it's not in my control, I was like, oh no, the trolls are going to come in droves.
Yeah,
I know. I was like, the trolls are going to come in droves. It's going to be so tough. But then like you said, Syl, as soon as Henry said, I reckon you should show it, I was like, okay. Okay. And then as soon as you show the picture, I was like, no freaking way. I was jumping like you said, Steve, I was jumping up and down for the next like hour. My heart was beating so fast, you know. It's still wearing off, you know, it's still taking time.
Like no, I was in party mode all day yesterday.
Man, I subscribed to HBO Max. I told my wife, I was like, we're getting HBO Max now.
I started following HBO Max straight away.
I mean, what's funny is like I had mentioned this to my wife like a long time ago, back when HBO Max was first announced, because like there was several news outlets and YouTubers that had reported on the fact that HBO Max would be the perfect platform for the Snyder Cut.
Right.
It just made a lot of sense. You know, you don't have to worry about fucking releasing it in theaters and whatnot. I'm sorry for swearing. But like, yeah, you don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have to send it to anybody. You just literally release it online, and
like, you just have to finish the film. It's not a full film,
right?
You know, it's not,
everyone knows that they're not going to get a finished film. Like we're all pretty comfortable with that at this point.
Mhm.
Like, even if we get 90%, I think we're all going to be happy.
This is a blessing, Steve. This is a blessing in disguise, because nobody, and I mean probably nobody, ever gets a second shot, because he's had a chance now, and the different
actually,
cut,
what's
the
kind of
alternative
crazy?
cut, the alternative cut that we think that we thought we were gonna get, we're gonna get an even different version of it. He's
the
got
original of what he wanted. Yeah,
absolutely.
So
He's got an opportunity. He's got support and backing. And with regards to the platform, with the streaming, there's been a paradigm shift in movie delivery. The delivery model has changed completely now. Paramount, 20th century, all those guys, that is a very, very, it's got a life expectancy on it now.
That typical studio model.
The metric used to measure a popularity of a movie used to be how many people went to the cinema or the pictures to see it, right?
Right.
I think I know kind of what you're getting to, is that they're going to do it as sort of a episodic streaming series, which seems like what the direction they're going to take.
Because they've got the money to hire the high profile actors who are now quite regularly on episodic things. It's not a special guest appearance anymore.
I will throw out, though, that it's almost been confirmed that they're not going to do any additional photography.
He doesn't need it.
They're just going to do additional VFX and ADR and like all of that post-production sort of stuff.
I have to refute that a little bit, because
really? You have new information?
Because
you know Ray Porter,
the guy that plays Darkseid.
He appeared on a couple of podcasts last night with the Film Junkie as well as Lightcast, and they asked him. He got a question from the crowd. Is that, are you going back to do additional photography? He didn't say anything, but his face was like.
Now
very telling.
The one argument you can make is that him going back to work doesn't mean additional photography. It means additional motion capture.
Dialogue.
Right. That's very true.
Possibly. I mean, look.
But that means that means that they could shoot new scenes with him for motion capture.
Right. But
that means he could lie and be like, I'm not doing additional photography, when in reality I'm doing additional motion.
Well, if he's going back there, regardless of what he's going to be doing when he goes back there, the fact that he's actually going to go back to set to do whatever means that we're getting something.
They are getting money to add to the movie.
Right. And the biggest thing is that when it comes to, because I've seen a lot of those articles that you've also talked about, they talk about how they're like, there's going to be no reshoots. There's a big difference, though, between additional photography and reshoots. Additional photography is not so much like shooting scenes. It's more of like making sure things connect better. It's making sure that scenes carry over a little bit better. And that's kind of...
I guess in the last few hours, I've seen like a lot of articles pop up about how none of the main cast will be back on set.
Main cast.
Yes.
That's a sketchy word, because we hear about the fabled Martian Manhunter.
Harry Lennox. Harry Lennox.
He was on Twitter the other day too. So he could shoot that scene that Zach
and he could be involved with additional motion capture, right? Which
absolutely.
Is
I've got a question. I've got a question to all of you guys, if you don't mind, regarding Martian Manhunter. When I went to see Man of Steel with my youngster, he was quite young then, but I've kind of fast tracked him a little bit. But I was always looking out for these characters. Now, with Harry Lennox, right? He played Swanwick, right?
Yes.
General Swanwick.
Yep. Now,
just stop me if I'm wrong. I'll just put it out there, but this was just me trying to do the math. Yeah. John Johns, when he left Mars, he took up a position of authority, right?
Right.
Right. I think he was a police captain or whatever he was.
Police or in the government, yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw Harry Lennox, he was a sergeant or a corporal, whatever he was in the army during Man of Steel. But one thing, and I've seen nobody mention it. Maybe I just haven't looked wide and far enough. But when they saw the planetary engineering and Emil, what was the name of that doctor from Star Labs? Emil Hamilton.
Yeah, I think so.
Dr. Emil Hamilton said they're terraforming, is planetary engineering, and the girl said, "What's that?" And Harry Lennox, Swanwick, said they're trying to turn Earth into Krypton.
Yeah.
And that, you can scroll through the movie, that is the first time anybody mentions the name of that planet.
That's true.
Really?
That's a good point.
I never noticed that.
Well, I didn't pick
Oh
up
man,
on,
that's such a good detail.
I didn't pick up on this.
He's the only, how does he know? Is it just...
That's such a good detail. I'm fascinated by that. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
And I said, is it what do they call it? Is it a gap in the story? Did somebody miss it, or was that him? Because nobody's ever asked him.
That's absolutely a hint. You nailed that on the head. Yeah.
Right, because that's how Zack Snyder works. He works in small details that often get overlooked.
He was the only one that said they're trying to turn Earth into Krypton,
and no one else knew. Who was like, what?
Other than a Martian, right?
I love to feel like Zack Snyder plays like 4 or 5D chess. Like, if anything, Watchmen is a perfect example of that.
Yeah,
Watchmen is a movie that has only become more adored with time, rightfully so.
As with all of his movies, they age like fine wine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's sort of the example of how he plays his weird form of storytelling chess, right? And like I actually saw this. I saw something that made me really curious, which was someone had heard that Zack Snyder had recommended Joss Whedon to basically on purpose sabotage Justice League because he would. But like honestly, like that obviously seems like total bullshit.
Right.
But like
that's propaganda, man.
I mean,
like there is sort of a romantic quality to that idea where it's like, I'd rather see it burn than see it being made by someone else. But
I mean, unless Zack Snyder had this grand vision of this whole comeback 3 years ago, I don't think that is the case.
That's a good day to check. If he can play 3 years in advance.
Zack Snyder's basically Lex Luthor at this point. That's
right. I'm gonna bring down Superman. Superman being Warner Brothers. Like
exactly.
It's interesting. You mentioned Martian Manhunter. There's also a lot of things going around that have a lot of basis on it. Is that they're trying to add, or they're going to add, Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern to the final fight in Zack Snyder's Justice League, like be the ones on the outside managing the parademons, while all the other shots on the inside of like the nuclear power plant remain the same.
Oh man!
Because we know we were supposed to get something that resembles a Green Lantern character. We know that. We've seen that, and Martian Manhunter, of course. So like, maybe.
No, dude.
I mean,
endless. If they're gonna break it up, then at least that gives them an opportunity to expand on the story as well. Because
the ongoing rumor right now is that it's going to be like 4.5 hours long,
which is perfect. Yeah,
which recommends itself to a 4-part series or some shit, right?
The original assembly cut. If y'all saw the Kevin Smith video, he talked to someone that saw the original raw cut, and at the very end, the Green Lantern comes to Bruce Wayne to warn him about Darkseid.
Kilowog and what was it?
They said a Green Lantern. I don't know if it was more than one or two. So I like the idea of them fighting off the parademons.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I really like that. I think there's just so much opportunity because we all know Zack Snyder's a guy that likes to take his time with stories. He's not one that does like rushed things. He's very theatrical like that. He likes to really expand upon things. Hence why, there's a lot of people that complain about Zack's story arcs not being fast enough. It's like, well, he does it in a reasonable way to where it's actual growth.
He wants you to like take in the images and like sort of more emotional way than like just watching events happen.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's perfect that it'd be a longer movie. And if it's cut up into or chapters, I think it's the chapters is the word they're using more of, like kind of like the Irish. I'd be fine with it.
One example I've seen thrown around the internet is like what The Hateful Eight did on Netflix.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense.
And it's funny that there's a lot of people who are like, I just want the full movie. It's like, well, either way, we're getting Zack Snyder's full vision, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure eventually we'll get some sort of like exclusive like DVD release or something, like
you
Steelbook or something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like once
Oh,
you see the success,
totally.
they'll put it in then some sort of.
And for the chapters would be like for the general audience who isn't as patient enough to sit or don't have enough time to sit down and watch it all the way through, like a lot of us would like to do.
That's what impressed me in that article with Zack Snyder. That's what impressed me is that was his idea to do the chapters. It was his idea to pitch 35 to 40-minute episodes with cliffhangers. So you can imagine in the Justice League, like, oh, they find Superman's body. Oh, next we're going to find him resurrected. It's like,
Look, listen, at the end of the day, right, whatever it is, we know it's going to be quality.
However it releases,
it can't be worse than what we got in the theaters, right?
Nothing could be worse than the theatrical cut. I'm convinced of that. Nothing could be worse than that.
Talk about a Frankenstein's monster of a movie. That was unbelievable.
Okay,
I watched it one time.
On that topic, honestly, I'm part of a Facebook group that is like dedicated to this nerdy podcast that I listen to, and I've already shared oh my god, the Snyder Cut is happening, blah blah blah, and like a bunch of other people have been as well. Someone posted on there being like, oh my god, did they suddenly think that the guy who made 2 bad Superman movies is suddenly going to make a good one? And it's like, come on, man! Like,
it's so popular to hate on those movies. It's not even funny.
Yeah, right. It's
I have this theory.
So much energy towards.
Right, and if you don't like it, like why do you need to speak your mind? Why do you need to speak out about it? Like, if you can have your opinion's your own, obviously, and no one can take that from you. But at the same time, like, why bash on something that someone else hates? And it's interesting. I actually did a review of Superman Doomsday, the animated movie. You guys remember that one?
Absolutely,
yeah. So I did a review of it a couple weeks ago, and I was watching it. Fantastic animated movie, by the way. It was really good. It's a classic. And I was watching it, and there's so many parallels to things that Zack Snyder did. Like, for example, at the beginning when he fights Doomsday, there ends up being this like massive crater in the middle of Metropolis destroying everything, mirroring the exact one that is in Man of Steel when he's fighting General Zod.
Absolutely. Did you see the Smallville scene when he's punching Zod in Man of Steel? He's having the same fight when he's saving Supergirl at the end of that movie as well. And was this? I think. Sorry, I might be talking about Batman, Superman, Apocalypse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
But
I haven't seen that. But
Apocalypse, wow.
Oh, Apocalypse War is so good.
That's Snyder all the way. That Apocalypse.
There was an earlier version, wasn't there? Batman, Superman, Apocalypse. Do you remember that one?
Oh, okay, the old one. Yeah.
If you watch that one and you see the fight in Smallville with Darkseid, it's almost a mirror image of the fight with Zod and the Kryptonians.
Exactly. And my point is that as soon as someone stamps Zack Snyder's name on it, they all of a sudden try to find small things wrong with it. It's weird how it's like that. It's like
they're looking to hate. They're looking absolutely,
It's very vocal.
Yeah, it's so bizarre to me.
It's very, very frustrating because like some people they just want it to fail, and it's like if you don't want to see it, and like Rotten. I posted on my Twitter. I know. I'm just putting it out there. I started following you guys just out of courtesy anyway, right? Prior to this. But what I posted today was one of the most sincere articles from the Washington Post regarding the release of this Snyder Cut. If you guys get an opportunity to read that article today, it describes everything as a whole, and it talks about the support and the artist getting what he wants finally, and it's justice in its own. If you read it, it'll give you a lot of sincerity about this whole movement and what it means and the hidden message behind it.
What publication was it from?
To be honest, I get a preference feed on Google, and
I've seen a couple. I've seen more than a few that have been like very against the Snyder Cut fandom.
No, this one is very, very pro, but it's not a Snyder fan writing it. It's a person actually who saw the journey and actually said it's almost a metaphorical middle finger at the corporate sausage machine that tries to pump out all the shitty films.
And that's what Deborah Snyder, during the watch party, she was like, it's about the journey of the hero. So everyone that hated Superman, he's not fully Superman yet. Like, man, he was Superman for a day. Okay,
Yeah.
and then
That's her stay on the job.
And then Batman tried to kill him after that. then it's like, okay, what happens after he actually dies and becomes that symbol? So that was a journey, you know.
Yeah. And it's this whole thing. It's this story that you actually have to like delve in and really try to think through. It's not simply one of those superhero movies, which granted are still fun, but it's not one of those ones that just like the characters are bland. They're there. They're exactly what they're normally are in the comics. This is like a growth thing. This is a growth
100%.
Like,
it's not,
yeah.
not a standalone movie, is it?
I've always been more of a fan of movies that take big risks than movies that are feel bland, right?
Totally.
And like I feel like a lot of my friends are gonna hit me for saying this, but I find a lot of the Marvel movies really bland because it never feels like there's any stakes. Whereas like I don't want to make general statements. Like there are like there are a lot of Marvel movies I like.
Right. Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy is like
Infinity War and Endgame. Different level. That was when Thanos came into his own. That was just.
But Infinity War.
When it came to Joss Whedon's Justice League, though, like seeing that in theaters felt like I wanted to ride my bike and someone shot me in the kneecaps. Almost. You know what I mean? Like,
like you talk about the stakes of Infinity War and Endgame, they would have came after Justice League.
Right.
That's true.
You realize that Zack Snyder was giving us stakes.
He was giving us those stakes way before Marvel even sort of attempted to.
Before Civil War.
Nobody appreciated it.
You see, he's not a monster. He's just ahead of the curve.
Right. That's exactly the point.
And I think it's so interesting. You know, you bring up the whole idea of stakes, and I totally agree. There's definitely some Marvel movies that are definitely very enjoyable. You know, they're fun and they're successful for a reason. But I totally agree with you. The movies that take risks are ones that are more enjoyable, the ones that are rewatchable. And, you know, I keep telling people that when it comes to Zack Snyder's movies, oh gosh, what was I going to say? I had something in my mind and I was going to put it out there.
You know what it almost felt like to me? It felt like they were like Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, and then they switched out coaches.
Yes.
And then everyone was like, what the fuck? Why do you want us to play the game this way? This is how we've been doing the strategy the whole time.
And now I remember what I was going to say. If you think about it, if Man of Steel would have given us the same old Superman we would have gotten, Zack Snyder would have been bashed for giving us nothing new. Right. But as soon as they give us something new, then people bash it for being different. Same thing with Batman. Same thing with Batman with Ben Affleck. If we would have gotten the same thing as Christian Bale's Batman, he would have been copying from Christopher Nolan. If he would give
you can't keep doing Batman Year One. You can't keep doing right. He comes from Krypton. Yeah, he grows up. A couple of little scenes. He becomes a reporter, and let's go and fight the baddies. He said, "Hang on a minute. This guy's an alien, right? It was based on the new 52 version, right?"
I totally respect how he took like a real world, how people react to
absolutely.
And from the sky.
Exactly, real world.
And that's what upset the status quo, because he decided to go against the grain, and and that just exposed the lack of support from the studios, who literally want the big blue Boy Scout. They want up to date, but stick to the narrative. But hang on a minute, it's like you can't interfere with it. You've chopped down my movie, you've changed it, and let's be honest, right? DC is dark. Let me be dark.
Right. And but then he paid homage. He paid homage to the Dark Knight Returns with Batman. Like
all the time.
Like, if anyone knew, like I didn't remember it originally when the Dark Knight Returns happened, as far as the comic book, but he gave you that gritty old Batman.
Yes.
And that warehouse scene was like my best action scene ever.
I rewatched Batman vs Superman the other day with my wife, and I had to like pause it several times to be like, "Hey, get off your phone," because like this part is like directly out of that, and like you know.
I did that with my older brother once. My older brother is an alternate DC Comics, so I sat down with him and had him watch the Ultimate Edition because he'd only seen the theatrical cut, and like a lot of people, he didn't like it, right? So I sat down with him and was like, "Okay, I'm going to sit down with you, and I'm going to help you understand what's going on here." And so I'd point things out, let him understand. At the end of it, he was like, "That was a lot deeper than I thought it was." And like,
it really is. I mean, It requires all of 2 minutes of thought, and then you're like, oh, okay, like they actually
did it.
Real thought into how the story played out. The one correction I would have made to Batman versus Superman, have him say, save my mom, not save Martha. Because if he had said, save my mom, everyone has a mom, right? Like, it's much more universal. Than
but Zach made that connection. You saw that theme through the movie.
I get it. But I think it would have been a much more...
For the more general audience. Right.
And it probably wouldn't have been laughed at as hard if he had said,
there was, that was just,
you know
that
what
was
I mean?
easy. That was easy ammunition for the haters, right?
Yeah.
They're making out like that's the worst bit of dialogue ever in a movie.
I thought it was brilliant.
I loved it too.
I loved the moment
in the beginning.
Yeah. My friends that were sitting with me in the theater, I heard them laugh when that moment happened. And I was like, I feel that. And they were like, you're full of shit. And I was like, no, like I felt that moment.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to explain to them that, like, yes, like they both love their mothers. It's just Bruce Wayne never got to love his. So, like, of course that would affect him, right?
And the biggest thing that pointed out to me, there's two things that I love about Batman v Superman. There's a lot of reasons. It's my favorite movie of all time, but there's two main reasons. And one, again, is the whole philosophical thing in it, and it addressed Batman's PTSD. That is obvious that he has, right?
That scene where the bat breaks through the wall in the graveyard.
Yes.
Robin suit.
Did you know that bat was practical effects?
Yeah, I saw something on YouTube about it. Yeah, it was
the man bat, right?
They basically built the man bat for like
animated series. Right.
And the second thing that I love about it is the incredibly accurate portrayal of the media, right? Steve, you mentioned how the world would respond to Superman, right? It was exactly the case with Batman v Superman. It showed all those media clips, which of course paid homage to The Dark Knight Returns and how they do that. Right. But it showed exactly how our own world would react to a being that with the snap of his finger could kill everybody. Right?
Exactly.
And it made sense.
He's someone that is to be feared if he existed in real life. And the fact that he's benevolent is something to be celebrated.
An alien who could burn the
So you got Psycho Batman, Dark Knight Returns Batman, who's been, Robin died and everything, and he sees this alien, and he's like, this is my one legacy I could leave. My family.
We've been fighting criminals. 100%. What it was, the way I saw it as well, and I totally agree with you guys, was the fact that it was so humbling for somebody who has been fighting crime for 25 years, and he's just realised, hang on a minute, I've just been made to feel human. Like, there's me thinking I've been doing my bit. It was so humbling for him to see what he was up against, but it also liberated him because he started to understand what he needed to do.
Right. And Lex Luthor played that the entire time.
Absolutely.
Was making a genius the entire movie, man.
My wife and I rewatched Batman vs Superman the other day, and as soon as Jesse Eisenberg came on screen, she was just like, "Oh my god." Oh my God! When is this going to be over?
That's so sad.
I get it, and it's not for everybody.
But, right.
But I did like what Jesse Eisenberg was going for.
Oh yeah,
I loved him. I thought it was creative how they brought a comic accurate but a slightly unknown comic book accurate in there. It was Superman Birthright, right? With the orange hair and kind of a crazy Lex Luthor kind of to figure himself out.
Yeah.
And it's an origin story for the guy. And that's what a lot of people fail to understand. They're like, where's the Lex Luthor that's bald?
There was supposed to be more to the story to have him become the Lex Luthor, the ruthless Lex Luthor.
That's what's coming. And he's the entire opposite of Henry Cavill. You look at Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, right. He's the polar opposite.
Saying that exactly.
Yes.
It's like here's Jesse Eisenberg and here's Henry Cavill.
Exactly.
Bro. Like, right.
Well,
like,
it's perfect.
I get the image comparison that they were going for with that, and like Jesse Eisenberg's performance, I thought was wonderful.
On the rooftop, when we got to the rooftop, I was sold.
As soon as he comes on screen, you're like, what's up?
During the movie, I was wishy-washy. Then when he got to the rooftop, when he's throwing those pictures out of Martha, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like, this guy, he's playing this.
I was sold when when he said, "Boy, do we have problems up here."
Yeah, right.
I was like, yes, nice, very, very nice. Just simple things like that. I just really liked about it. And speaking of Batman v Superman, Batman specifically, I want to kind of talk about these rumors with you guys. So we've kind of talked about the whole like additional photography. Is it happening? Is it not? That kind of thing. Rumor has it that Ben Affleck has been offered contracts to come back fully as Batman. So, although it's not confirmed at the moment, of course, because we can't confirm it, source can't confirm that yet. But what do you guys think about that? I mean, obviously, we like Batman v Superman, so I'm assuming it's positive. And also, what do you think are the possibilities that actually happening are?
Well, he's in a better place now, isn't he?
Yes.
He wasn't in a good place leading up to Justice League. And you could tell the guy from the Comic Con interviews, he was stoked to be Batman. But he went through his own personal troubles, and to be honest with you, it was probably a blessing in disguise because you might not have got the best Ben Affleck or his material. But
I mean, I'd argue that is the reason he left is because Zack Snyder left.
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely.
He was his anchor in the franchise.
Yep.
As soon as Zack Snyder was gone, he immediately felt uncomfortable.
He felt that pressure.
You can see it. Like.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that
he seemed like he was a bit of a mercenary, didn't he? Like there was a little rumor mill that he didn't really care who he worked under, provided he got his exposure. And I don't want to think that of Henry because I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill. I think he's a great export from obviously not far from where I am. But I think there was a lot of loyalty from Ben Affleck because you just got to see the way Ray Fisher and Jason Momoa act towards Zack Snyder. You can tell that this guy was he gave them the opportunity to really get the exposure on the big screen,
Well, it's like sort of Ben Affleck is an odd thing to analyze because he's had such an odd career and he's been so lambasted by the media.
Oh, man.
And like so him taking on a big role like Batman was always gonna cause headlines. And like
no one wanted him. No one wanted him as Batman.
Right. I did, honestly. Like,
I was excited.
As soon as he got cast, people were like, my coworkers were like, Steve, have you heard? Ben Affleck's going to be Batman. And I was like, bring it on.
And I started seeing the pictures of him in the suit, and I was like, okay. And then as soon as I saw him in the suit, I was done.
I was always about it, but Ben Affleck was like a comic book geek, right? So like I figured he had some love for the character. And
What I appreciate with Ben Affleck is that when he didn't have the suit on, he was playing Batman. Like he was Batman without the suit.
Yeah.
So he was a very, very good Bruce Wayne. I mean, he did such a great job. And when Zach released that first black and white photo of him in the warehouse with a car, just standing there, I thought, hold on a minute. What's going on here?
What I love about his Bruce Wayne so much is that his Bruce Wayne was craving to. He was more Batman than Bruce Wayne, right? And that's more of what Batman is. No offense to other Batman actors in the past, we've had some great Batman actors like Michael Keaton, Christian Bale.
He felt like he wasn't trying to be an asshole as Bruce Wayne. He just was an asshole because he didn't want to.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Christian Bale felt like he was trying to be an asshole as Bruce Wayne.
Like when Clark was like off on the Daily Times, he's like, "Oh, did I buy that one?" Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Ben Affleck doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. He wants to be Batman. So like get away from me, like I don't care, sort of.
That freaks dressed like clowns.
Yeah.
And a bit of dialogue with at the.
that was epic, man.
That for me, when he goes, maybe it's the Gotham City in me.
Yeah,
I just thought,
dressed like
man.
Sorry.
You just nailed it.
I was like, that's Batman.
That's Batman, yeah.
And that's been another thing. It's almost like every single thing that us Snyder Cut fans love. We have to defend all the time, like Ben Affleck's Batman, Henry Cavill's Superman.
Man, I'm so sick of defending. I know. I can't put any energy into that anymore. Like I just laugh at people.
But the fans are there. Like,
it's a big fan base.
The fans are there. So and then the general fans got hit. Like I said, my wife's not a big fan of really anything, but she saw this release of Snyder Cut, like it got released, so it's hitting like the general public now, but it's regardless.
Honestly, like I've been kind of openly mocked for like my love of DC for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
With my friends in town, you know what I mean? And it's like, guys, like I don't care that our movies get fucking whatever 4 stars on Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
Rotten Tomatoes is not reliable. I'm
like,
based on
I
that.
love Batman. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tune into anything that has Batman or Batman-related characters in it. That's just the way I am. And like,
I had to watch 10 episodes of Titans just to get a glimpse. Just to get a glimpse of the back of Batman.
Right.
But just realize, even though we're Snyder Cut fans, realize that Star Wars fans have it rough, more rough.
That's true. That's true.
We can take it. We can take
it.
Star Wars too, but I'm just saying. Like,
Something I mentioned before.
They're pretty divided.
Is that it almost felt like where modern media hasn't had the foothold to dig on Star Wars fans in a bit, they've kind of grabbed the Snyder Cut fandom to dig on them. Now that we've finally got what we want.
I never felt so alone since the announcement of the Snyder Cut. I just realised there's actually nobody to celebrate with. I was telling my partner a couple of things, and I've had to actually break it down to them, the whole life cycle of this thing. And I think they were trying to be polite, just say, that's nice, that's good,
But to answer your question as far as with Ben Affleck, I mean, I still think that Robert Pattinson is going to give us a good year one Batman.
Yeah,
dude, I'm not excited at all. I just want to see that arc. I want to see Ben Affleck's arc. I tweeted about that a lot. If you saw that, Rif, or anybody, and I was like, I want to see the Ben Affleck arc. Just give him that fight against Deadshot, and then or Deathstroke, and then you know, give us that end. And then I'm happy. Just give us
absolutely. We've got closure on it. At the end of the day, right? Batman v Superman, I'm going to call it the Snyderverse because DCEU was always unofficial name for it, wasn't it? It's just something that we gave that universe. But it was the first time that I was hoping Nolan would do it, but he kept it very realistic. But Snyder's the first one to actually introduce interplanetary threats to DC superheroes, as opposed to the usual suspects all the time.
I'm going to be totally open right now. I'm not the biggest fan of Ben Affleck's Batman because he's such a brute and he kills so many people in Batman alone. Like he kills like 24 people. And
I will refute that. Hold on, I got something for you though.
I was starting to like Steve, man.
I just but like I do want to see Zack Snyder's Justice League so much, and I love Batman vs Superman as a film. It's just it pains me when I'm like, that guy's dead.
Though I will refute it by saying this. I agree with you. I'm totally cool with that. I'm not gonna go at you and say like, oh, why don't you like Ben Affleck? No, I'm totally cool with that. The only thing that I'll tell people about like the whole Batman killing people is that if you watch Batman with Michael Keaton,
Tim Burton.
I was just
the chemical plant where he has the Batmobile drive into the plant, drops bombs, and kills people.
Feels like
There's people dying everywhere.
It's absolutely.
He kicked him in, and his head hit the bell.
I forgot about that. I recently rewatched that movie and was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I rewatched it recently too, and I reviewed it. And he literally had the Batmobile drive into the chemical plant full of Joker goons, surrounded by Joker goons. The Batmobile drops bombs and blows up like 30 people.
So I can't give too much flack for that.
Right.
But like, it's so funny to me. It's like, how does everyone mess this up? It just seems so strange.
Well, Zack Snyder said you don't know if they really were dead. He's like, they were okay.
That blood splatter that came out directly from the back of the guy.
Oh, he was definitely joking. He was definitely joking.
Party in BBS, he was like, hey, that guy got up later. Like he was like,
we just didn't film it.
On that note,
ignorance is not the same as innocence, Miss Lane.
I don't think they're going to address Batman being a murderer in the Snyder Cut.
Well, that was a story arc, though.
Obviously, they wouldn't. But like, it's just so funny to me that like,
But like Zack Snyder's story arc, he was showing murder. He wanted to do murder Batman.
Yeah,
but he show redemption.
There's some interviews with him too, right? Where he's like, "What do you think he would be like in real life?" Where it almost seems like
after 20 years.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is that
Zack Snyder's Batman seems more like the comedian than he does Batman.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
You know?
Although I do tend to like more of a brutal Batman because, like, I always find it hilarious how in like video games and other movies and stuff where he like just pummels people, but then they're supposed to be fine.
Right.
Like, I think the best line for that
is a certain amount of ridiculousness that goes along with all of that.
I think the best line that describes this is actually in Under the Red Hood animated movie when Batman like beats the crap out of someone's face, and then Red Hood comes out and says, "So you're okay with killing people." Or you're not okay with killing people, but you're fine with punching them within an inch of their life, or something like that, or severe brain damage. And I was like, that's fair. That is definitely fair.
That's a classic.
But it also depends on who is telling the story.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Because Batman can be very gentle when it comes to who's telling the story, right? Like he would. Right. There are some stories where he does everything he can to not resort to physical violence, right? Then there's other stories where his immediate go-to is physical violence.
And that's the beauty of comic books. That's the beauty of comic characters, that you can have so many different interpretations, do so many different things. Yeah.
Batman in particular lends himself to these non-violent methods because he is just a man who is a detective first. And I would compare Batman to Solid Snake, where he would rather tranquilize people and sneak by them than confront them. Right.
That's fair.
And BVS at the end of the warehouse scene, when the guy was like, I'll shoot her. Believe me, I'll do it. That's straight from the comic book.
That is.
I believe you. And he shot the gas tank. So, I mean, he was giving you literally. He's
literally showing us panels from the comic, and that was something that I very much appreciated when I watched that the first time.
He found a good balance. He found a good balance between satisfying the hardcore comic book community as well as giving us something that could appeal to a wider audience. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges any director faces when they take on such cultural kind of material, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think this is a perfect example of like exactly what encompasses this movement is so many different perspectives, right? We have different ideas of who Batman is, who Superman is. And again, it's all about the idea of comics. I actually made a video about it recently, how comic book characters are figments of imagination that have had thousands of interpretations, and people can latch on to specific ones because they are more drawn to specific ones. And that's the beauty of it. And I think it's so interesting how many versions of these characters we can end up having, both in animated as well as live action movies, to where it's still comic accurate, but some can be so different from each other. I find that very, very interesting anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, do you know one thing? I just want to touch on something. Oh, we've got another visitor there. Oh, he's just gone. Me and my son, we got quite into the Arkham game.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I was actually just about to bring up the Batman Arkham games. So,
okay. Yeah. Right. Well, I'll start off. You can take it from there. Basically, we were big fans of the Arkham games, and we were like, okay, do you know what? This would be fantastic if they were to take snippets. Now, Batman v Superman showed us that warehouse scene. Showed us the closest thing to jumping on the gargoyles and using the grappler gun to bring people close.
Right. You can almost pinpoint what he was getting at what stage in the fight, almost.
Silent takedowns through the wall. And I just talk about, like, the man has given it, like, he's tipped his hat to the games as well.
Exactly. He gave you Arkham Fighting. Yeah, he gave it to you.
He gave somebody actually freeze framed and compared side by side shots of an Arkham Batman fighting three people as well as Batman fighting three people, and it was symmetrical as it could be.
Yeah, see, that Zack Snyder pays attention to detail. And I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit for that. A lot of people tend to think like, oh, Zack Snyder just makes things look cool without story. It's like, first off, yes, he makes things look really freaking awesome, and I love him for it. But there's so much more to it than that, and that's why I'm looking so forward to Zack Snyder's Justice League, because again, it's the arc. It's
gonna be crazy to see how the story concludes. Like,
I know.
Even if it's garbage, who cares? Like, it is the end of the story.
They've got a new lease of life. The opportunity there is now open-ended. So
honestly, I have zero faith in them.
The platform of delivery for the material has changed now. So it can go straight. The marketing campaign goes parallel with HBO Max anyway, right? So if you go back to you know, another milestone moment in this movement was when a question was hijacked at the Directors' Cut convention, right? I don't know, Dawson, were you going to bring anything like this up? Because I don't want to step on your toes and things like that.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that obviously they started to get quotes from him, which ended up on the billboards and the Times Square and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
One thing that really made me physically sick to my stomach, because it was still embryonic in its stage, and it was like, it's just conversation at this point, and there's a bit of a support movement going, but we don't know where it's going. But when he gave us a description of dark side boom tubing into the Batcave,
oh man,
I said, are you telling me I'm not going to get to see that now?
Release the Snyder Cut. Release the.
and now we will. And the man himself, Ray Porter, has announced that he is Darkseid. And I tell you what, when I was watching the live stream with him and Film Junkie and Lightcast, he's such a nice guy, such a good guy. I mean, you know, Victor Koo, the guy who won the poster contest for the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
So I actually submitted to that as well. Like I was.
Me as well.
I was gonna win. You did as well. Oh man,
I did a quick one. I didn't think I was gonna get it just because I had to do it really fast. It was a school project.
Me neither. I just kind of whipped mine up in like 4 hours or something. Like I wasn't like super crazy about it, but like I was pretty happy with what I made.
Yeah. So Victor Koo was in the chat of that live stream, and Matt from Lightcast mentioned, he's like, yeah, this is the guy who won the poster contest. He's like, oh, I heard about the poster contest. And then Matt brought it out and showed it to him. He's like, dude, that's amazing. And he told Victor Koo right there, he's like, I'm going to buy it from you. You're not going to give it to me. I'm going to buy it from you. And I was like, wow, I like this guy. I like this guy.
Isn't he Ray Porter's the Bruce Wayne of audiobooks, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an audiobook guy. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. He's the Batman of audiobooks.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
His voice is he's very well known. I mean, if you, I listened to a lot of Joe Rogan's podcasts, and there was a little session where he was, Ray Porter's name was dropped in, and he was saying the guy is brilliant. His voice, he can really be descriptive. You know what I mean? And I thought, yeah, that's our guy, man.
Yeah, I heard he does a good Darkseid. Like I can't wait to hear it fully. You know,
he wouldn't show the voice in the live stream, of course, as many times as people asked.
Yeah.
But he did say that it was how he described it as otherworldly. And I'm just like, okay. All right. I like that. I like that description. I mean, it makes sense. Darkseid's basically an alien god. So it's like, cool. Well, as we have reached an hour, folks. This hour has gone by so freaking fast. I've loved this conversation. And before we close, I just want to hear people's final thoughts regarding anything we've talked about today, or anything you want to say about the Snyder Cut, or any shout outs you want to give. We'll start off the same way with you, Steve.
Please, I'd love to go first. My only thoughts that I'd like to express are that I hope that more people realize that the Snyder Cut fandom is not just a bunch of people that want to harass people online. Right. We are, we're docile. Like we hang out, we chill. Like we just want to see our movie.
Yeah.
We're not all harassing people. Like there are those select few that are loud and vocal. Yes, but we are not the whole fandom.
Exactly.
And I hate that perception is getting passed around right now. It makes me very upset, especially after all the hard work that the Release the Snyder Cut Twitter group has done.
Right. And I think that makes it our job to try to change the perspective as much as we possibly can.
That's why I wanted to be on today, honestly, because they deserve to be taken seriously and respected. And whatever I can do to help that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you. A pleasure to have different perspectives, and it's always great. It gives variety in the conversation, right? And it's always a good sign to me whenever people can come together with maybe some different perspectives, and it goes civilly like it did today. It was a pleasant conversation, It was
there was no
great talk.
Not even disagreed about ideas,
Yeah. We understood, and that's how humans should interact. And I feel like a lot of that is lost nowadays, and we're slowly trying to get that back a little bit. So anyway, enough of my rambling. Rif, how about you?
Yeah, just to close up, it's been an absolute honor to be on with you guys, to be honest with you. It's not about a profile or status or number of followers. For me, it's about the quality of the person, and you guys have been all aces in my book this evening, I should say. And I'm just happy to contribute even a small little percentage with my tweets and my opinions, and I've been dying to share with fellow enthusiasts like yourself. I'm glad I shared this experience with my son as well, and also let's not forget that the Suicide Prevention Association, that was a phenomenal thing absolutely to obviously send that message, and that was a big driver for this as well. And it wasn't you to drive this, but it was also it was piggybacked onto it to make sure the message got across. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity to voice my opinion. I'm happy that fans actually got. I'm so happy that we can actually get to see what we want as fans. And look, at the end of the day, it's been great, man. It's been great. I just want to shout out to my boys, the boy that's sleeping, my partner as well, and everyone that gets to watch this. It's been fantastic, and I hope this is the start of some more of this because I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely,
Thanks for having me, man.
It was a pleasure to have you as well, Leonardo. Turtle power all the way.
My favorite Ninja Turtle, to be honest.
Hell yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Syl, how about you?
Well, yeah, just to echo everyone, like I said, I like that even though we all love the Snyder Cut movement, that we still have some different opinions. Like Steve didn't like Ben Affleck as Batman, like, and that's cool, but he loves the overall vision. So that's what it's about, man. Like, it's
Batman's my boy. I respect anyone that brings their 100% to the table playing Batman. I can't hate on Ben Affleck for that.
Exactly. So it's like that's cool.
It's very organic.
It's cool. It's like it's about just talking about our passion, and that's we want to see Batman, we want to see Superman, we want to see all that, and there's a small minority that's toxic, but that's not the majority. And the fact that Ben Affleck had a video shouting out the fans, the real fans, that's what it's about. They're not listening to these crybaby toxic fans. They're talking about the ones that was riding for this, since 2017. So
I hope they continue to talk about those people because, like, a lot, like, the vocal minority seems to be getting a lot of the press in the last few years, and it's very saddening. But
it is.
Hopefully that changes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, with my last thoughts, again, same as you guys. I love this movement. It's a great movement to be a part of. It's given me the chance to interact with people that otherwise wouldn't be able to interact with. Like, you're in Canada, you're in London. I mean, you're in Kentucky, so like it'd be more likely that I'd meet you. But we got people from all over the world. Like, I had a guy on a live stream the other day who was from Portugal. There's people from different parts of the world who are coming together in a time where it's so divisive all the time, where there's so many differing opinions, so many differing beliefs that it gets very contentious. But in this movement, different walks of life, different lifestyles come together to both support an artist, a movie, and a great cause with suicide prevention. And with that, those of you who are watching, be sure to follow these guys on Twitter. I think their Twitter names are what you see on their screen: Wheezy Steve, Rif and Syl Abdul. I'm Dawson Weidrich from Nerdy in Many Ways. You can check me out on Twitter at NIMW32, as well as on YouTube on Nerdy in Many Ways. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
See you later.